At my brother's wedding brunch, my husband leaned in and whispered, "We have to leave. She's not who she says she is." And just like that, my entire world split wide open. We had always been a close-knit family. My brother Adam and I grew up in Colorado, building snow forts in the backyard, sharing inside jokes only we understood. When he met Charlotte at a tech conference in Seattle, he called me that night, voice full of excitement I hadn't heard in years. She was smart, driven, stunning. Everything he thought he needed to finally settle down. I wanted to be happy for him. God knows I tried. I smiled through every family dinner, helped him plan his engagement surprise, even defended their whirlwind timeline to my parents. "When you know," I kept saying. But deep down, a small voice kept whispering that something was off. I noticed Charlotte's stories never quite lined up. One week she was a startup CFO. The next she was a consultant taking a sabbatical to explore new ventures. She laughed a little too hard at my dad's jokes, asked suspiciously specific questions about his business investments. She always seemed to be performing rather than truly present. Adam brushed it off as wedding stress, and I swallowed my doubts. After all, I loved my brother. I thought supporting him meant sacrificing my own discomfort, holding my tongue for the sake of his happiness. But then, the little cracks started turning into fractures I couldn't ignore. Charlotte would disappear for hours, claiming work calls while hosting our family. She carried 2 phones and guarded them like they were secrets she'd die to protect. Once, I walked past her room and heard her voice, low, sharp, saying, "He's hooked. We're ready to move." When she caught me listening, she just smiled and said she was finalizing flower arrangements. I wanted to believe it. I really did. But there's only so long you can pretend you don't see the truth staring you down. That morning at brunch, when Daniel leaned in and said those words, I didn't scream. I didn't argue. I simply stood up and followed him out, because in that moment I knew Charlotte had underestimated me. And that would be her biggest mistake. When Daniel and I left that brunch, I didn't speak for nearly an hour. My mind replayed every little moment. Charlotte's sideways glances, her carefully chosen words, the way she clung to my dad's every sentence about business expansions and new funding rounds. In hindsight, it felt like she had been playing us all from day one, and I hated myself for falling for it. In the days leading up to the wedding, Charlotte's behaviour had become bolder, almost as if she believed she was untouchable. She started correcting my mother's cooking in front of guests, suggesting healthier alternatives as if she knew better. She rearranged my dad's study without asking, claiming it would flow better for his big investor meetings. One night, I heard her on the phone again. She was pacing in the guest house, her voice sharp, businesslike. "No, he'll sign after the honeymoon. We need the final signatures locked by next quarter. Once that wire clears, we're done here." She paused, then chuckled. "He's so desperate for connection, he'd sign anything to feel useful again." That line stuck with me like a knife to the chest. My dad was many things, stubborn, old-fashioned, sometimes frustrating, but above all, he was genuine. He didn't deserve this humiliation. It all clicked. The sudden push for Adam to marry quickly, the charming speeches, the endless interest in my dad's contacts and financial projects. She hadn't chosen Adam for love. He was just a Trojan horse into my father's life and fortune. After that night, my patience dissolved into something cold and razor-sharp. I still remember standing alone in my hotel bathroom, staring at my own reflection, my eyes red and swollen from holding back tears. That was the moment I stopped feeling sorry for myself. I whispered to my reflection, "No more." I decided if Charlotte thought she had picked a compliant, emotional sister-in-law, she chose wrong. I wasn't going to explode or cause a dramatic scene. I was going to outthink her, outmaneuver her, and make sure she never hurt my family again. I started quietly. First, I texted Daniel everything I had seen and heard. every odd sentence, every hidden phone. He didn't question me. He just replied, "I'll handle the research. You keep observing." Daniel reached out to a friend from med school who had pivoted to private security work after a rough few years as an ER doctor. Within hours, that friend began digging into Charlotte's history. Meanwhile, I played the role of the supportive sister-in-law perfectly. I complimented her dress choices, asked about wedding favours, listened to her endless rants about seating charts and signature cocktails. I nodded and smiled as she gushed about building a strong, powerful Reynolds-Novak investment network. I even offered to help print out guest lists and menus, which allowed me access to her devices when she stepped away. During one of those moments, I noticed she had email drafts open, addressed to offshore account managers. The subjects read "Final Transfer Schedule" and "Wire Instructions." My stomach churned, but my face didn't move. Instead of confronting her, I started taking photos, each open tab, each document title. Screenshot after screenshot, uploaded to a secure folder Daniel created. Then I started checking my dad's schedule. I noticed he had private lunch meetings scheduled with Charlotte's father, a man she introduced as a retired European banker turned advisor. The meetings were always just the two of them, no paper trail, no assistants. Charlotte insisted she handle the follow-ups herself. It all felt so surgical, so precise. She knew exactly how to isolate my dad's vulnerabilities, his excitement over new business ventures, his desire to stay relevant even in semi-retirement, his pride in his own instincts. She offered him just enough praise and attention to make him feel powerful, while she slipped her hooks deeper. I stayed quiet. I played the good sister. I offered to handle small tasks to relieve her stress, all while documenting everything. Daniel and I coordinated every night in hushed tones in our hotel room, going through each screenshot, each overheard conversation. He contacted the private investigator daily, who eventually confirmed what we feared. Charlotte wasn't Charlotte. Her real name was Anna Novak. Anna had at least 3 aliases, multiple state IDs, marriage certificates with different last names. In each case, she married into wealthy families or strategically attached herself to someone with access to generational wealth. Then she siphoned money through carefully disguised investments before disappearing. Once, she left a man bankrupt within 2 months of their wedding. Another husband nearly took his own life after she vanished with his family's trust fund. Each time she changed her hair, her name, her social media footprint. Each time she escaped just in time. I didn't cry. I didn't break down. Instead, I felt a cold, steady resolve build inside me. I started gathering all of my dad's emails involving Charlotte and her so-called father. I made copies of financial proposals she'd drafted. I even offered to drive her to pick up customized wedding stationery just so I could stall her from a meeting with my dad's lawyer. Every small moment counted. On the outside, I played my part so well that Anna believed she had won. She called me her favourite sister, confided in me about planning secret surprises for Adam, acted like I was her closest confidant. I let her believe it. I nodded, hugged her, told her how lucky Adam was. Every time she smirked, thinking she was manipulating me deeper, I felt stronger. Adam, sweet and loyal, didn't suspect a thing. He saw only her charm, her careful tears, her big plans for their future. But each night, I sent him texts about how happy I was for him, how proud I was. He didn't know that every message was really a silent apology for what I was about to do to his world. To save him. By the time the wedding day came, our evidence was airtight. Daniel's investigator had compiled a full dossier, including offshore account data, shell company paperwork, and past marriage records. I watched Anna float around the reception, greeting guests, laughing at jokes, touching Adam's arm tenderly. Every move was a calculated performance. But that night, as I stood in the corner, clutching a glass of champagne I'd barely sipped, I felt no anger, only a patient, focused calm. because she thought she was the predator. She thought we were clueless. She thought she had outplayed everyone in the room. She had no idea that each smile I gave her was a silent farewell to her freedom. She thought she broke me. What she didn't know was, I was just getting started. The morning after the wedding reception, the sky over Sonoma was pale and quiet, as if the world was holding its breath. While most guests slept off their champagne hangovers, I sat in a small garden nook with Daniel and our investigator on a video call. The dossier was complete. All aliases, all offshore accounts, all falsified business records. Every move Charlotte or Anna had ever made was documented. Adam thought we were just grabbing an early breakfast together. My mum assumed I was out for a morning walk. No one knew that I was about to set the trap in motion. First, we called my father. His voice trembled as he picked up. He had grown attached to Charlotte's promises of big deals and new legacies. When I explained what we had found, in meticulous detail, with screenshots and recorded calls, he didn't speak for a full minute. Then he cleared his throat and said, "Tell me what you need me to do." That was all I needed to hear. Within the hour, my father froze his investment accounts and called his personal banker to put a hold on any pending transfers. He revoked Charlotte's access to his legal team and cancelled all scheduled meetings with her father. We even arranged for a cybersecurity team to sweep his devices and lock them down completely. Next, Daniel texted Adam, asking him to meet us alone in the estate library. Adam arrived looking confused and slightly annoyed, but once he saw my face, he sat down without a word. I slid the folder across the table. He looked at me, then opened it slowly as if afraid of what might spill out. As he turned each page, photos of Charlotte with different men, different hairstyles, screenshots of her messages about final transfers. His hands started to shake. He didn't cry. Instead, he let out a long, shuddering exhale. "We need to confront her," he whispered. "No," I said calmly. "We need to end this properly." Adam stared at me, stunned. For a moment, I saw the old boyish innocence in his eyes, that instinct to trust and forgive. But then, something hardened in his gaze. He nodded. We called Charlotte into the library under the pretense of a private family discussion. She walked in wearing a crisp white dress, her hair pulled into a neat ponytail, a vision of newlywed perfection. I didn't bother playing nice. I stood, placed my hand on the folder, and met her eyes. Or should I say, "Anna Novak," I said, my voice low and steady. Her smile faltered, only for a fraction of a second. She tried to recover. "I don't know what this is about, but—" "Stop," I said. "Don't insult us. We know everything. Every name you've used, every husband you've conned, every cent you've stolen." Adam stepped forward. His voice was raw. "Was anything real to you? Any of it?" She opened her mouth, but no words came. Her eyes flickered, searching for a weakness, an opening. She found none. My father spoke next, his voice sharp as a blade. "You thought you could manipulate me. You thought I was just another old man desperate for relevance, but you forgot one thing. This family protects its own." For the first time, I saw her facade crumble. Her shoulders tensed, her pupils narrowed. She looked like a trapped animal. "You won't get away with this," she hissed, her voice dropping to a harsh, unfamiliar register. "Oh, but we already have," Daniel replied calmly, holding up a flash drive. "All your accounts have been reported. Your offshore transfers are frozen. The FBI has been notified. They're on their way now." She lunged toward Daniel, but Adam stepped in front of her. "Don't," he said. His voice didn't shake. His posture was firm, steady. Charlotte staggered back, her eyes wide, her breathing ragged. "You think you can destroy me? You think you're better than me?" I stepped closer, my voice barely above a whisper. "No, we didn't destroy you. You did it yourself. We just opened the curtain so everyone could see." For a moment, she looked as if she might scream or collapse. But instead she straightened her spine, lifted her chin, and smirked. "You think you've won," she spat, "but you'll always remember me. You'll never trust again. You'll always be looking over your shoulders." Adam took a slow breath and said softly, "I'd rather learn the hard truth than live in your beautiful lie." She opened her mouth to reply, but just then we heard the sirens approaching. Her eyes widened again, real terror flashing across her face. She turned as if to run, but Daniel and Adam blocked the door. When the agents entered and handcuffed her, she didn't fight. She just stood there, breathing heavily, her face pale and stripped of all the warmth she had faked. I watched as she was led away, her head finally lowered. Adam sank into a chair, burying his face in his hands. My father stood silently, staring out the window, his expression unreadable. I didn't rush to comfort them. Instead, I moved to the corner of the room, took a deep breath, and let the last of my tension drain away. That was the moment I took my power back. I had doubted my instincts for so long, pushed aside my discomfort for the sake of keeping the peace. But now, I knew. Silence was never protection. Silence only served the liar. I turned to my family, feeling my spine straighten, my heart steady. Adam looked up, eyes red but clear. "Thank you," he whispered. My father finally turned toward me. His gaze was heavy with sorrow and relief. "I underestimated you," he said quietly. I shook my head. "You didn't underestimate me. You just forgot that I don't give up on the people I love." Over the next few days, we untangled the mess she left behind. We worked with lawyers and financial advisors to repair the breaches in my dad's business. Adam moved back home temporarily. He started therapy, focused on rebuilding his own sense of self. As for me, I returned to Denver with Daniel. I picked up my work again, but I wasn't the same woman who had walked into that wedding weekend doubting her gut. I was sharper, stronger, freer. I knew now that love doesn't mean surrendering your instincts. It means protecting your people, even if it means burning bridges and tearing off masks. In the weeks that followed, I watched my brother slowly laugh again, my father regain his confidence, my mother plant new flowers in her garden like she was planting hope. One morning, as I sat on my porch with Daniel, coffee in hand, he looked at me and said, "You saved them." I just smiled. "No," I said, "we saved each other. I don't regret a single step." I don't miss the old me, the cautious, apologetic woman who worried about making waves. That woman is gone. He thought I was weak. He was wrong. Months have passed since that morning in the library when we ended Anna's performance for good. Sonoma has long gone quiet. The vineyard's now just a distant memory that lives in a bittersweet corner of my mind. Life feels different now, like a house after a storm. The walls still stand, but everything inside has been rearranged. After everything settled, I went back to Denver with Daniel. My first morning home, I sat by the kitchen window with a steaming cup of black coffee. The sunrise spilled across the counter, soft and gentle, nothing like the harsh fluorescent lights of that library where everything fell apart. I took a slow breath and felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. I returned to my non-profit work, but with a new clarity. I stopped volunteering for extra committees out of guilt. I stopped saying yes when I meant no. I started reclaiming my time, my energy, my space. Every day, Daniel and I began taking evening walks around the neighborhood. Just us. The cool Colorado air and the sound of our shoes against the pavement. We talked about everything. Small joys, new recipes, silly neighborhood gossip. We never mentioned Charlotte or that weekend. Not because we were avoiding it, but because we didn't need to. The wound had scabbed over, and we were letting it heal at its own pace. Adam eventually moved into a small apartment downtown, overlooking a park where kids play soccer on the weekends. He got a rescue dog, a clumsy golden retriever named Max, who sheds all over his new couch. I watched him learn to build a new life, one awkward, wobbly step at a time. Our father started spending more time on his hobbies, restoring an old Mustang in the garage, volunteering at a local aviation museum. My mother took up watercolour painting, filling the house with bright, chaotic splashes of colour. Together, they found ways to reconnect, to rediscover what life felt like when it wasn't under constant surveillance from a smiling predator. I stopped tiptoeing around my own feelings. For years, I believed that keeping the peace meant swallowing my discomfort, softening my edges for everyone else's comfort. But standing in that library, watching Anna get taken away, something shifted forever. I realized I never needed to be the quiet one, the agreeable one, the self-sacrificing one. I could be gentle and still stand my ground. I could be loving and still protect my boundaries. I started seeing an old friend for yoga classes on Saturday mornings. I began cooking again, not because anyone expected me to, but because I wanted to experiment, to savor, to play. I found pieces of myself I hadn't known I'd lost. One afternoon, I stood in front of my closet and packed up dresses I had worn to charity galas and corporate dinners, events where I smiled politely while ignoring the nagging voice inside me. I donated them all. I started wearing more denim, more cotton, more pieces that felt like me, clothing that moved with me, not against me. Adam and I still talk every week. Some days he just sends a photo of Max snoring on the floor. Other days he calls to tell me about a new coding project he's working on. He's started dating again, though he takes it slow, always checking in with his own gut before his heart leaps too far ahead. As for me, I no longer wake up dreading what I might discover. My mornings are quiet, my evenings are warm, and my soul feels mine again. If I had to distill everything I've learned into one sentence, it would be this. Never confuse kindness with weakness. Kindness is a choice, a powerful conscious choice, but it should never come at the cost of your own truth. I thought loving someone meant ignoring the small betrayals, making excuses for their cracks. I thought family meant swallowing my voice for the sake of harmony. But true love, real, abiding love, doesn't require you to break yourself into pieces to keep someone else whole. To anyone listening, to any woman sitting alone in a dark kitchen, wondering if she's overreacting, wondering if she should stay quiet to keep the peace, you're not crazy. You're not weak. You're seeing the truth before the world wants to admit it, and that is your power. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away, quietly, calmly. You don't owe anyone your silence. You don't owe them your softness if they've used it as a weapon against you. I look back at that wedding weekend now, and I don't feel rage. I don't even feel sorrow. I feel gratitude. For the lesson, for the chance to reclaim my voice, for the opportunity to show my brother what it means to truly stand by someone you love. Anna didn't win. She lost the moment she underestimated me. I don't hate her. I don't pity her. I don't think of her at all anymore. Now, I spend my days in the quiet strength of small, ordinary joys, the smell of garlic sizzling in a pan, the feeling of fresh sheets on a Sunday morning, the laughter that erupts during a clumsy yoga pose. I am no longer defined by what she tried to take. I am defined by what I refused to surrender. And today, I smiled. Not because she lost, but because I found myself.